So this raft, what we know about it is two men used it to flee Cuba in July 1992, and the United States Coast Guard rescued two men from this raft 35 miles southeast of Miami, Florida.
This raft is important to us because it's a great object to give us a window into the immigration experience. We don't know who was in the raft. We know there were two individuals. We know that they survived. These Cuban rafters, as they're called, or balseros in Spanish. In many ways, they were lucky because they didn't die of dehydration, because their boat didn't fall apart at sea. There are lots of folks who didn't make it though.
Balsero is a term applied to Cuban rafters. Balsero translates to rafters in English, and it is derived from the word balsa, which is a wood that Cubans would use to create these rafts. Cuba is 103 miles from the United States, but that's the northernmost point of Cuba and the southernmost point of the United States. Not knowing exactly where these individuals left from, we don't know the exact distance that they traveled in this raft. We don't really know how long it took them. There's been instances of 4 days up to 36. You're thinking about the amount of water you're going to need, the amount of food you're going to need to survive this journey.
These rafts were washing ashore on the coast of Florida, on the Florida Keys in the 1990s, reflecting this mass migration of Cubans, many of them in desperate situations, trying to leave the island. Cuba was not receiving the economic support that it had received previously, and this results in a lot of folks being unhappy with their situation and becoming really desperate to leave the island, and in many cases taking risks to find a better life.
You couldn't leave the island without the government's permission. So they're really constructing this raft of found materials, whatever they can pull together, but they're also doing it in complete secrecy. You're not broadcasting to the world that you're leaving Cuba. You're doing this in whatever space you have available to you that doesn't draw attention, and you're likely leaving in the middle of the night.
When you look at this is blocks of styrofoam that have been essentially glued together with tar. You have moments where the seat is covered by a shower curtain. I mean, this was really meant to be like a disposable craft.
It wasn't until we did conservation that we kind of understood the complex construction of the raft. It's not just styrofoam. There is a wooden foundation that these men used to build the styrofoam upon. So they started with a wooden skeleton of sorts and used tar to adhere the wood to styrofoam they had cut into the shape of a boat. This textile that's wrapped around the body serves dual purposes. It kind of holds the styrofoam body together and adheres it further to this wooden skeleton. But it also serves as a watertight barrier when they're using it to cross the Straits of Florida. And it also adds protection from marine life who may attack the boat, be it sharks or any kind of other obstacles that they may encounter, coral, rocks, things like that. So the wooden railings we looked at, and we noticed there's also red and green coated wire wrapped around both of these. And these really served as oarlocks for these men to put their oars through and row this boat. And you can see on areas of the railing where the oar would have rubbed against this wooden railing and kind of shaved off pieces of it. Underneath this wooden plank on the bottom of the raft, there is this metal piece with a ball bearing attachment, and there's no way of knowing for sure what exactly it's for, but it gives an indication that there was thought of a rotor or some kind of propelling device that would submerge underwater and propel this raft forward. Clearly these two individuals were given a lot of thought of how they were going to survive and how they were going to move this buoyant object from Cuba to their destination.
A lot of this comes down to your own resourcefulness, what materials are there, and what risk you're willing to take to change your situation and to seek a future in the United States. Once we start looking at this human story of migration and taking risks to find a better life, we find that these stories, in fact, end up connecting us more as Americans than we find that they create difference between us.
We're all migrants. Human history is full of migration, and this is just another tangible object that speaks to one sort of migration, and it just so happens to be an American immigration story. But it really is an example of what people will do to get to a better life.